I'm Paloma, and today I'm going to give you a short introduction to Japanese kanji writing and reading. First of all, I would like to explain why I choose this topic. Even though it's not my research topic, it's because I am studying Japanese as a hobby. Some people may say that when I choose that, I was naive. Other people may say that I was a masochist. I would let you decide at the end of this lecture what do you think. But I actually decided because I wanted to learn another language. My brother was already studying Japanese because of his career. And I thought, okay, I like Japanese culture. I like Japanese culture entertainment sector especially. So why not? It's a good way to keep the interest in learning the language. So I decided to go with it. First of all, I'm going to start with a brief introduction of the three writing systems that they have in Japanese and why they have three, and a background history, and then I will teach you your first kanji Japanese kanji. So first of all, as I said, there have three different ways of writing: hiragana and katakana, which are syllabarious, and then kanji. Kanji were exported or borrowed from China. So as I said, there are three compared with English writing, where is only one. We have kanji, which was borrowed from China when Japan decided to become an empire. They decided to borrow a lot of things from the most close empire that they have, which was China, and they borrowed the writing system, kanjis. So all Japanese was the same as all Chinese writing, kanjis, which are pictograms with a meaning on itself. Then we have hiragana and katakana, which are two syllabariums that originated in Japan and are known as Japanese alphabet, which could also be read as kana. This is the alphabet. Hiragana is the most common one, while katakana is for foreign words or words from other languages. So now in the present, the three of them coexist and are mixed. We have kanji, katakana, and hiragana. Here you have hiragana, the kanjis, and the katakana in green. Katakana is just a simplification of the hiragana, if you want to say it. So why there is three of them and why they have become a mix? So in the past, when the kanjis were the only way of writing in Japan, the women were allowed to be empress, but there was one woman and her decision that was an empress, and her decisions led to a civil war. So after the war, the people of Japan decided that women were too emotional to be empress, and therefore, if they are not allowed to rule, they don't need to know how to write or how to read kanjis. But the aristocratic women of that era were terribly bored after this, because if you're not allowed to rule, you are not allowed to conspiracy, and you are not allowed to read or write, you are bored. So it's not completely confirmed, but the hiragana was more or less invented in the same period. It's not confirmed that it was invented by a woman, but what is confirmed is that the first modern Japanese novel that was written by a woman with the hiragana syllabarium itself. This is just a joke. But why they decided to combine the pre-existing kanjis from China with the Japanese hiragana? Well, in my opinion, it's because it's bloody difficult to learn the Japanese, the kanjis itself. There are like 3,000, and you have to know its pictogram and its meaning and its way of reading. And Japanese people decided to make it even more difficult, and I'm going to explain why with an example. So here we have the kanji of hand, which is read most of the times as te. Then we have the kanji of up, which is read most of the time as ue. And then we have the kanji of down, which is read most of the time as sita. If you sit together up and hand, you would say, okay, should be read something like uete. But that's not the case. It's read yosu, which means skillful. To remember the meaning, I just think myself like, yeah, you are good, you are skillful in this. And then down and hand should be read something like sitate, but it's not like that. It's read heta, which means unskillful. Again, if you are like this, you suck at something. The reason why this different kind of readings and pronunciation of the same kanji is happening is because, as I said, they borrowed the kanjis from China. There was one point on history that they decided, hey, okay, we borrow them, but we don't have to use them or to pronounce them as they pronounce them. So they have the kanji pronunciation, the ancient Chinese pronunciation, and the Japanese pronunciation. And sometimes they have even several Chinese pronunciation and several Japanese pronunciation. And there is no rule that could tell you which pronunciation or which reading of the kanji you have to use in which situation. It's just by memory. So it's impossible to know all the different pronunciation and all the different readings of a kanji by memory itself, so they just decided to have a mix at least with the hiragana, which makes things more easy because it's only like 50 characters without a meaning in itself. It's like an alphabet, basically. So now you are going to learn your first kanjis. Here is your first lesson. Here we have a mouth. Then we have a person walking. What can that mean? Person. Then a person with their arms like saying, help, I'm on fire. It's fire. Then we have a tree, a mountain, the sun, the moon, and a kanji that looks like two western doors is a door. So these 8 kanjis are basic kanjis that you could find in a lot of words, in Japanese words, and they add the meaning of the kanji itself to the word. And sometimes these kanji could be also found as radicals. Radicals are like the building blocks of a kanji. So a complex kanji could be made of different radicals. And these radicals could add their meaning, like the meaning of fire, to the kanji itself. So again, radicals are considered the building blocks of a kanji. So a kanji could be split in different particles, and each of these particles is called a radical. A radical could be either a kanji on itself, but could also be just a particle without any meaning or any significance on itself. In this case, do you remember the kanji for person? This is considered also a radical. The only problem is when there is a radical, it's slightly modified and put in the side like this. And it adds the meaning of person or human to all of these other parts of the kanjis. So, for example, in this case, we have the kanji of person plus, do you remember this kanji? This was the kanji for tree. So, what could be a person lying in a tree doing? The person, yeah, it's resting. Then we have this other one, which is a person plus a kanji that is quite similar to the tree kanji, but it has an horizontal line, which makes it means root or trunk. The trunk of a person, what could that be? It's body. So this kanji means body. Another example is fire mountain. What can that be? It's a volcano. And then I have here this kanji. This is like 2 mountains combined. In the ancient times, it means exile, to put somebody in exile, because when you send somebody in exile, you send it through the mountains or to the mountains. Nowadays, it means to get out, and then we have the kanji of mouth. So someone that is telling you to get out is someone that is pointing you the exit, which reminds me that I should be finishing. But before finishing, I have some good news for you, despite of the bad news that I told you before. If you want to learn a language, you have only to start with one word. And the good news with Japanese is that there is some words that has made their way into English, like sushi, samurai, karaoke. But there are also some English words that they have made their way into Japanese, like ice cream, beer, butter. Actually, 10% of Japanese words comes from English, which means that congratulations, you already know 10% of Japanese. So if you're interested in learning more, I would suggest this webpage, which actually is the webpage from where I took most of my videos. They are excellent explaining, they are slow, and you could pause it whenever you want. The only problem was that I didn't have 45 minutes, I only have 10 minutes, so I have to trim them and cut them. Then, if you want a web page, you have this one, which is for learning the alphabet and the most common conversations that you will have. And then here you have some apps, which are flashcards, more basically to learn both vocabulary, kanji, and the hiragana and katakana. I like and personally have on my phone the Obenkyo one. I really like this one because it classifies by colors how much have you learned that kanji or that word or how badly you know it. So it's repeated more often if you don't know it than if you know it. And then if you're more interested in Chinese because you think it's more useful for you, congratulations, this kanji has the same meaning in Chinese than in Japanese. The pronunciation would be different, of course. I have not talked about pronunciation, but yes, about meaning. So Chinese is a really good one way to start, and it has all these pictograms that will help you to memorize the meaning of the kanji. So if you're more interested in that one, that's the one that you can use. And that's basically all. I don't know if I would have been seen in the camera during that moment, but okay. If you have any questions. Sorry, I didn't make it that interactive, I guess, but
No.
Should we get to tell it to stop recording now?
Yeah.
finish. Finish recording, yes.